Well, hi everyone, and welcome to this fourth installment of Esri State and Local Connect. This is an Esri webinar series dedicated to state and local government GIS professionals who want to use GIS to improve operations and service delivery, make smarter data-driven decisions, and enhance citizen engagement. My name is Mike Dyer, and I'm joined today by a couple of my colleagues from Esri's state and local government team. Let me introduce you to them now. First, we have Lakeisha Coleman. Hi, Lakeisha.
Hi, everyone. Lakeisha Coleman here. I'm a solution engineer with the state government team, and I'm in the Southeast for Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and Alabama, and I'm in our Atlanta office.
Thanks, Lakeisha. And then we also have joining us Jay Fowler. Hi, Jay.
Hey everybody, solution engineer out of Charlotte, North Carolina on our local government team, and I support big cities and counties in North Carolina.
Thanks, Jay. Well, we're glad to have you here for this month's webinar, which is called How ArcGIS Continues to Transform Field Operations. We're going to discuss the technology and capabilities within ArcGIS for supporting field work, with a particular emphasis on our new app, ArcGIS Field Maps. Let me mention that we are recording this session and that all attendees will receive an email with a link to the recording in case you'd like to share it with a colleague later. We do invite your questions, and we'll have time at the end of the webinar to answer a few of them. If you'd like to submit a question, you can submit it at any time during the webinar using the Go to Webinar Questions pane. State and local governments are field-intensive operations. As GIS professionals, your work is in the field. And by that, I mean your work is community-focused, and it requires direct engagement with the world around you. The technology and the tools for collecting and observing field data are an important part of your work. And this work cuts across all operational areas of government, from health and human services to infrastructure management to environment, natural resources, and public safety. So shown here are just a few examples of the workflows that have a field component to them. Some of you are already taking advantage of these capabilities. You're realizing greater efficiencies in field operations that are saving your organization time, reducing expenses, and improving service delivery. You're also enhancing transparency within your organization and creating a better, more accurate, and up-to-date understanding of the natural and the built environment and the activity going on in your community. There are a lot of organizations whose field operations workflows we could share with you, but we only have time to touch on a couple of them. One of them that's really interesting to me involves a public works department in a Florida city following a recent hurricane. This use case sticks with me because it shows how quickly these field capabilities can be implemented, but also how transformative they can be to an organization. Following the landfall of a hurricane, a public works department was tasked with performing right-of-way damage assessment throughout the city. So traditionally, this workflow involved crews going into the field with paper maps and pens. But on this occasion, the Public Works Department stood up a simple field data collection app that worked on smartphones, and a companion dashboard so the operations manager back at the office could track the damage assessment progress of the field crews. This effort took a couple of hours to set up, but resulted in a significant reduction in the amount of time it took to identify storm damage and begin the recovery process. This process has transformed the way field operations are now performed by this department, as similar workflows have been set up to support a number of the routine day-to-day operations, such as tree trimming, or road patching, or storm drain clearing, or landscape maintenance. Now, I'm going to have Jay tell you about an effort he's connected to in Durham, North Carolina. Jay?
Thanks so much, Mike. Durham serves as a great example of how field operation capabilities can improve service delivery. In this case, the building inspections team at the City and County of Durham, North Carolina, adopted a new workflow that takes daily building permits, optimizes routes and stops, and assigns the routes and stops to the inspectors out in the field. The inspectors can navigate to those stops in the most efficient manner, getting turn-by-turn directions and work through their to-do lists, while supervisors can monitor the work being completed by field crews and coordinate as the situation on the ground changes. Additionally, the public is able to view progress and can learn where their inspector is through a public-facing app that you can see on the right side there. Through all of this, the city's been able to reduce the number of carryover inspections from one day to another, more effectively balance workloads among inspectors, and have reduced time spent making work assignments every morning. They've also enhanced the public's visibility into the inspection process. And as an added benefit, they've realized a $62,000 annual savings in labor costs. Today, they're expanding this program to other inspections departments, which is super exciting to hear. Mike, I love sharing stories like this one. It's such a great showcase of how ArcGIS can transform field operations and also have a high ROI in an organization.
No, that's great, Jay. Thanks. That's a great effort. Really good results there in Durham. Let's touch on one more of these that I find really interesting. So, Lakeisha, why don't you tell us about this very recent use case from Election Day?
Yep, thanks, Mike. So this is the state of Georgia, another example of field capabilities enhancing operational awareness, and the very timely example of the recently completed national election. So the state of Georgia utilized field GIS apps such as Survey 123 and Workforce to enable poll workers across the state to update the Secretary of State's office on wait times at the polling locations. Field apps were used to assign a small army of field technicians to troubleshoot and fix any issues with the voting equipment. And so both efforts were visualized through this dashboard in their operations center, which for the first time ever provided real-time operational awareness of county election day operations to the Secretary of State's office. So this illustrates how a simple solution that they were able to deploy very quickly could have a significant impact on a major event.
Yeah, thanks, Lakeisha. I mean, you summed it up right there. You know, it was simple and quick, easy to put together, but it was really impactful. So really nice work there as well. So we touched on a couple of use cases, and I apologize we didn't see the first one, but now let's dive into the technology and tools that support these workflows. So field operations involves a lot of interconnected activities that often don't work well together. You know, different tools are needed for coordinating workers, routing them to their work, and getting accurate data back at the office. So beginning about 6 or 7 years ago, Esri began building out a suite of apps that support different phases of field work. Some of you may already be using some of these apps, like ArcGIS Collector for data capture. It's important to recognize that there's more to field work than simply capturing data. As GIS professionals, we help others get authoritative data into and out of the field, and then merge it back into the organization's workflows to become geographic knowledge, so it can support, you know, better decision making and problem solving across the organization. There's a real strategy to performing this work in an effective manner. So as you see here, there are 6 unique phases of field operations, and they include planning, coordinating, you know, navigating to work, capturing the information out in the field, and then understanding and monitoring. And until recently, this workflow consisted of a suite of several apps with specific focus around all these different phases. And while these different phases of field mobility remain the same, to simplify the process, we've collapsed many of these apps into a single app called ArcGIS Field Maps. So ArcGIS Field Maps is the result of user feedback requesting that all these capabilities be brought together into one app. So now Jay and Lakeisha are going to demonstrate ArcGIS Field Maps. Jay?
Thanks so much, Mike. So over the next couple minutes, we're going to be showcasing the capability in field maps. But first, I kind of want to take a moment and set the scene. Like if we could look at that next slide with all the apps that we're compressing, this is a good way to kind of conceptualize all that Field Maps encompasses. So if you've never used our mobile apps before, great, no problem. It's like fresh snow, right? I'll tell you, there's no time like today to go ahead and get started. For this group, the thing to take away is that we really have you covered with capabilities to investigate data while you're out in the field. You can also capture data in the field very efficiently with templates and smart forms in Field Maps. And finally, you can do breadcrumb tracking of your current and historical locations. Now, if you have used our mobile apps before, this kind of helps you conceptualize how we're taking 5 apps and incorporating them into one powerful app known as Field Maps. So we have Explorer, Collector, and Tracker. They have all been incorporated today and are ready to go as part of the available download that you can get from the iOS and Android stores, respectively. Workforce and Navigator are coming to Field Maps in future releases. Next slide, please. So this slide talks about the why, right? And in our minds, there's really 5 key benefits to Field Maps. The first is that this is a single app to deploy and learn. So this will make it easier for IT groups, for GIS departments to spread this mobile app out to other users at a city, a county, or an organization, right? Without having to get people to download multiple apps. Also, it makes it a lot easier for novice users to learn. So they're learning about one application, Field Maps, versus having to learn about multiple applications. The second key benefit is really one of my favorite benefits, and it's that you're only going to have to sign into one application. You know, this day and age, we all have plenty of usernames and passwords and methods for keeping track of those. But you know, while you're out in the field, it can be difficult if you have 2 or 3 different applications that you're using when you have to log into those. Now, logging in is super important. We want to secure our information, especially if we're editing it. And this is going to make it easier because it's going to have that secure information and you're only going to have to sign in once. The third benefit is that this will eliminate duplication of offline content. So if you go offline, you know, you got to build a mobile map package, essentially cache data to your device, right? And if you're using Collector, maybe Explorer, maybe Navigator in the past, you might be creating different mobile map packages for each of those, for instance. So this is going to eliminate duplication of offline content and roll straight into number 4, a smaller aggregate app footprint download. So less apps, less memory consumed, right? But also, as we talk about like those mobile map packages, you're not having to download and store a map package for Navigator and a map package for Collector and a map package for Explorer. You're only having to do it once. So it's going to be great for your hard drive space. And number 5, this helps us really provide consistency across our apps. So, you know, when we have these apps incorporated in one place, we can provide, you know, nice continuity and a really great user experience that's consistent. So with those key benefits, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Lakeisha Coleman, to show us how Field Maps can help transform your organization's field operations.
Thanks, Jay. So let's say I'm a field worker for a water utility and I'm needing to head out to the field to collect some data on assets for a new subdivision being built. Perhaps I'm needing to input the assets as they're being installed. So Field Maps allows me to quickly view data as well as collect data to create that system of record needed in the organization. So what I'd like to show you is some of the basic functionality of Field Maps. So I'm going to start by opening up the app on my iPhone. When I get to the main screen, I can see what's available as the logged in user. So I can see current content such as my maps, a new feature called a map card where I can quickly turn on tracking, and any groups I'm a member of. And if I tap into either of these, I can see more details as to what's available to me. But let's go into the water distribution system map. So I can update my location, GPS here, and also view my GPS details at the very top. So when I get into these details, I'm using my phone's default settings, but you can also get higher accuracy with the choice of GNSS or GPS receivers if that's needed for your collection efforts. So I'll examine what's in my map. I'm going to zoom out just a tad, and I'll select some assets. And I happen to tap on both mains and valves, and I can view the details of what I've selected. And then I'll go into this system valve. So notice that this system valve has related records of valve maintenance. I can open this up to find the past maintenance records for this valve, and I can see that the latest record is from January. If I tap on this record, I can see the maintenance details, and also note that this is tied back to or related to system valve. And those related records are especially handy when you're dealing with those assets that need inspections or maintenance. So I'll go ahead and close this out. Then opening the layers, at the very top, I can view what's in my map. And so I notice a layer for markup, and we'll take a look at this in just a moment, as well as my tracks. And so this is different from earlier when I turned on tracking. Here I can view my own location tracks for up to 3 days within the app. And if I want to change the time frame, I can also select those options there. I can also quickly toggle on or off other layers as needed. And I'll go ahead and turn off my tracks as I don't need to view those right now. So let's head back to the construction site. I need to start collecting data. I can either pan and zoom to my location, that's my blue dot there in the middle, or if I need to search by address or place, or I could even set up my map to search on a particular feature ID, such as a valve or a hydrant ID. I could do so here. So I'm where I need to be to start collecting some data, and I'll tap on my plus button in the bottom right, and I'll start. Most of these are points, but I want to show you some of the editing capabilities with line drawings. So notice now there's also snapping available. I need to first start by adding a point, which is essentially a vertex, to connect to my new line. So as many of you are aware, snapping is going to be crucial in editing when trying to set up those utility networks later. So I added the point. I want to look at the attributes that I can edit. Select a distribution main, and notice that I can get the details popping up. Looking at status of the main, I see the different options. I can also view the specific distribution main details, such as materials. In this case, I'll choose galvanized pipe. And then also diameter, noticing the smallest diameter is 4 inches and the largest is 20 inches. If I were to change this to transmission main, I'll see the available attributes change accordingly, such as my block here saying transmission. And notice when I go to the materials, I don't even see galvanized, for instance, because it doesn't apply to this type of main. The same with diameter sizes. The smallest is 24 and the largest at 75. So this gives you an idea of some of the smart form capabilities and conditional visibility built into field maps. I'll submit my feature, and then there's my new main. So that's some of the basic editing functionality. Next, let's take a look at some of the standard operations within the app, the other buttons. So we have base maps that you can choose from according to what's available in your organization. And I can also work with saved bookmarks if I have a particular site I need to visit, in this case, the construction site. I can view the extent of this entire site or project. And we also have an edit multiple option, which allows you to edit multiple features of the same type at the same time. So maybe there is an instance where the wrong info was entered for quite a few features, and instead of opening them up one by one, you can select them all and edit accordingly. I see multiple values because I'm looking at multiple features. In this case, I've selected 2 items, and one was transmission, one was distribution. I need to start by editing the material, so I'll go in here and change this to polyvinyl or PVC. Then I'll also change the diameter. I need to change this to 6 inches. And lastly, I need to go down and change the main type to distribution. And so when I submit these edits, they both get updated, saving you lots of time in the field. We have newer markup capabilities that also allow for better workflows and operations. So in markups, I can add points and maybe drop this and move this around to where I need this. I can also add labels or notes. So in this particular case, I'll use the talk to text feature. Or you can also type on the device. And then I can also add an area as a markup. I can shade this and change the color if desired. Lastly, I can also add a label. So maybe you want to distinguish different work or different sites, different shifts, add labels however you see fit. So all of this information will be saved within that markup layer that I can quickly toggle on or off if needed, or share, and even view in another map. Of course, there are measuring capabilities to get those quick measurements in the field, so I can measure lines or areas and change the units to what makes sense to me. I'll go ahead and clear this measurement. And lastly, you can share your map. I can either share this via text, email, however, maybe send this off to a crew supervisor or teammate to take a look at later if needed. I'm going to go ahead and toggle off my map layer, and I'm going to clear my map up just a bit so I can continue my data collection in the field and go about finishing my shift. So again, that's only some of the great capabilities that we have available in Field Maps mobile application right now. I'm going to hand this off to Jay, who will continue showing us some of the mobile app along with the cool handy features we have in the web application. Jay.
Thanks, Keisha. So today, ArcGIS Online and Field Maps makes it easy to deploy field operation tools in second and tailor them to my needs as a city, a county, a state, a nation, or other organization. I'm responsible for managing and maintaining a large park. I use field maps to gain situational awareness as I do my daily duties. I'm also going to start submitting hazards that I observe as well while I'm in the park. To do this, I'm going to create a template feature layer. So templates are really great because they make it easy to get going quickly. To do this, I'm just going to search for the template I want to use, in this case, a hazards template, and get going. Going to accept a couple defaults and enter in a name and some tags for this layer. Once I've done this, I'm ready to go. So what I've created essentially is a data model for hazards in my park. I can check out the fields that are involved with this layer. I can check out a specific field and see that we have a list of values, so a pick list. And I can also see that it's deployed some default symbology. So this makes it really easy to get going quickly. I don't have to spend a lot of time picking some beautiful symbols. I already have them. So the last thing I need to do is add it to a map and save. Now that I've done that, I'm ready to go in Field Maps. Right now, I'm driving into the park in a truck. You can see I have location tracking turned on, and that's why I have my blue dot moving and a blue line behind me. I'm going to go ahead and pull into a parking lot and start working for the day. So as I get out of the truck, I can look at one of the amenities, in this case a bathhouse, and I can use the compass feature to get directions to how to get there. This is important, for instance, if the bathhouse is in a particularly wooded area, it might be hard to find. As I walk on the trail, I notice that a tree's fallen down and we need to take care of that. So I'll go ahead and submit a hazard, in this case, vegetation. I can upload a photo of the tree as it crosses the trail, and I can start filling out some other information as well. In this case, we need to bring a chainsaw, and this is going to be high priority. It's on a main trail. We need to get it taken care of as quickly as possible. When I'm ready, I can add some description information as well and hit submit. Now this was a very efficient workflow overall, but I want to make it even easier because I'm out in the field. I might be wearing gloves, I might be distracted. I need to make this as simple as possible. To do this, I'm going to use the Field Maps web app. I can go in and configure various portions of my Field Maps web app in this experience. In this case, I'm going to be working on templates, but it's also where I build out smart forms as well. I'll navigate to my layer. I'm going to drag vegetation to the top of the list. This is because it's the most common hazard we run into in our park. So I want to make it very easy to get to. Next, I'm going to add a new template. In this case, it's going to be a template for a downed tree, and we're going to submit some default values. Let's go ahead and have instructions to bring a chainsaw and give it high priority by default. I can now duplicate this template a couple times, one for poison ivy where we're going to bring poison and it's of moderate priority, and one for overgrowth where we need a weed whacker and it's low priority. When I'm done, I just save the template. Back out in the field, I just need to reload the map to see the changes. As I pull up my features list, you can see the changes have gone into effect. Vegetation is at the top of the list, which is great, makes it super easy to get to. We have our other templates as well. So let's see how easy it is to submit one of these. I'm going to delete the feature I created earlier and use one of my templates to submit this down tree. To do this, I just hit the plus button. I hit the down tree button. I can add a photo if I want. And you can now see we have our default instructions to bring a chainsaw and that this is high priority. I want to turn my location tracks on now because I remember a couple other hazards I saw while coming into the park. While I was walking near the parking lot, I saw some poison ivy. So let's go ahead and look at those location tracks. The light blue area is where I was walking. If I zoom in, I can click on this and confirm. You can see I was walking at 2 miles per hour here. Let's collect at this point and submit some poison ivy. Once again, I can attach a photo of the hazard for reference. And once I submit the data, we're going to have those default values recorded. It's that easy. So you can see we have instructions to bring poison and the priority is moderate. Finally, while I was driving into the parking lot, I noticed that there's some overgrowth. You see here I was driving at 9 miles per hour. You can see I took the turn into the parking lot. So let's go ahead and collect in this area, and we're going to submit some overgrowth. Once again, I can add a photo. I can submit this data, and my default values are going to be recorded. We need a weed whacker, and the priority is low. The templates make it super easy to submit data, but Field Maps is not limited to the outer doors. I have an indoors model of our park's operations center that we can check out. I'm going to zoom over to this area. I can turn off the facilities layer, and you'll notice that I can see the indoor space, and I have a floor picker at the top right, so I can toggle between the first floor and the second floor. I'm going to zoom into this area on the left, and you can really see the differences between the two floors here. So on the second floor, I just have offices. I can click on this and actually pull up details of this office, the name, the floor it's on, etc. This is a large park with plenty of facilities, trails, and equipment to maintain. It's necessary that we operate as efficiently and as effectively as possible, finding and documenting the work we do in the field. In order to do this, we need tools like Field Maps and ArcGIS to continue to transform field operations at our park.
Thank you, Jay. So as we mentioned earlier, Field Maps will continue in a phased release schedule. So we've just come out of beta and now we're in the first phase of our release. In succeeding phases, we'll be continuing to make enhancements and adding feature functionality. So currently we have capabilities of Collector, Explorer, and Tracker, with Navigator and Workforce coming in the future releases. And as we continue working on the web application, we'll be adding functionalities to help simplify those field deployments, more smart forms capabilities, and additional updates to mobile for location tracking. And then some of the future highlights, future product highlights in the, they'll include quite a few different features. These are just some. We have quite a few to include, such as more high accuracy support, so more work on smart forms. We're going to have more on indoor positioning that will be enhanced, utility network integration, such as viewing associations, online versioning, and network tracing. And then we'll also have capabilities with geofencing, push notifications, and webhooks. So again, so much more, too many to list here on the one slide, but we'll keep you posted. And so this brings us back to this idea of the phases of work. So as we mentioned early on, when thinking of these different phases, we are hoping basically to help you out in your workforce by providing you with the necessary tools to get the job done, no matter the phase. So we've given you a brief overview of Field Maps. Some are also probably wondering what's happening with the other apps, such as Survey 123 or Quick Capture. These apps will still remain kind of in their standalone environment, though we're trying to incorporate appropriate feature functions within the new application of Field Maps. So these are what we consider specialized apps, and they're called this because they have a specialized focus and not as fitting into the Field Maps application environment like the other few are. So field maps will support app linking like the other field applications. So multi-app workflows that include Survey 123 or Quick Capture will still remain possible with field maps. So we understand you're constantly negotiating and navigating through these different phases of your work. And remember that we're here to help with our solutions, our applications, and of course, your Esri state and local team in general. So enjoy field maps. And back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Lakeisha, and thank you too, Jay. Now, beyond the Field Maps app, ArcGIS provides additional capabilities to support other types of field work, and I'd like to touch on these briefly in our last few minutes together. Let's start with drone mapping. So, a growing number of you are looking to bring drone imagery into your GIS environment. One of our newer products within ArcGIS is SiteScan. SiteScan is a cloud-based solution that provides automated drone flight planning, drone fleet management, and image processing and analysis. So drone data workflows can be captured in 3 different categories, which include plan and capture, process, manage and analyze, and then finally disseminate and collaborate. This complete drone data platform is supported in the ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise environments. This animation demonstrates how SiteScan works. So you can see how the drone will calculate a path and do optimal image overlapping to create high quality base maps, as well as point clouds and 3D meshes within SiteScan. And then this data is automatically stored and managed in the cloud, and you can visualize 2D and 3D outputs on the web and share results with your ArcGIS organization. So using only basic equipment, a drone controller, and a tablet or a mobile device, SiteScan makes for a user-friendly drone workflow. Another way that ArcGIS continues to transform field operations is in its ability to consume real-time sensor data such as IoT, AVL feeds, traffic data, or weather feeds, for example. The world is quickly becoming more real-time, so this is an important capability for state and local governments going forward. Whatever the real-time feed, ArcGIS can ingest that information and make sense of it. There are 2 kinds of real-time technology. So first there's GeoEvent Server and GeoAnalytics, which are extensions to ArcGIS Enterprise, and they handle big data processing in real time. And now there's a new extension to ArcGIS Online called Velocity. And Velocity combines the use of GeoEvent and GeoAnalytics into one place so that you can schedule in real time all your large data items and do analytics on the fly within a SaaS solution. So you don't have to have your local infrastructure. You can simply connect IoT feeds in the cloud and get real-time information streaming into your GIS. So finally, we want to touch on GeoAI, or Geographic Artificial Intelligence. Now, this webinar series that we're doing will address this topic in more depth in the upcoming months, but in the context of field operations, I've asked Jay to share on an interesting project that he's been involved with at the City of Charlotte.
Absolutely, thanks, Mike. So another type of sensor that can be used to do field work is actually cameras in the images, pairing them with artificial intelligence so you can classify features and actually put them down on the map. We're all accustomed to having to do more with less these days. Using artificial intelligence is a great way to capture data with less people in the field. Also with coronavirus, this can lessen the people in the field and interactions with other humans in the field as well. So this story is about Charlotte Water, and you can see how they're mounting a GoPro camera on their truck in this image that you're looking at right now. So the problem Charlotte Water faced was, they have water meters, and it's a very high value feature class. But about 70% of the almost 300,000 water meters had not been field verified. It's of course expensive to do this with survey contracts. And because of this, sometimes you're putting descriptions of locations in text fields and things like that. And we know there's a better way to possibly do this. So the solution for Charlotte Water was to actually do a GeoAI proof of concept with Esri. So Charlotte Water purchased a GoPro 7 Black and mounted it on that vehicle as it drove around the city. It collected about 1,000 images of water meter boxes in various locations. And then Esri created and trained the model from the collected images. I can say I helped out on this process. And it's effectively sitting at your computer looking at lots of images and circling the features that you're looking for, in this case, the water meters. And the outcome was that Esri was able to train the model to effectively find meter box locations. So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, we have a polygon drawn over this image. That is the actual water meter. At one point, I was the guy circling these manually, but the beauty is eventually the computer takes over and starts finding the water meters for you, and then can put a dot on the map, which is really fantastic. Couple other outcomes, Charlotte Water determined there were some limitations of the GoPro 7 Black. The accuracy wasn't quite as high as they needed it to be. Some of the meters were hidden behind on-street parking, and the driver couldn't capture images on high-speed thoroughfares. They moved to a new camera that had a higher accuracy of 2 inches after post-processing, which is really great. And it also did 360-degree image collection. So if a meter was covered up by a car that was parked on the street, there's a better chance that as that truck moves down the street, another image it takes might capture the location of that meter. So Charlotte Water is moving forward with this project. They're currently finishing up calibration and model training. They're training other team members on how to use the camera system. They're planning and creating the driving routes needed as they go around the city. And they're setting up servers to replicate data to Esri's cloud environment. Mike, this is a really great success story of use of GeoAI to capture data in the field. I really can't say enough great things about the leadership and staff at Charlotte Water, as well as their use of the Esri Advantage program and professional services to be able to bring this project to fruition and transform field operations.
Jay, thank you. Really nice work there at the city of Charlotte. There are some online resources that are available to provide you with more information on field maps. And as a reminder, you'll be sent a link to this presentation, so no need to frantically copy these links. There is information on migrating over to field maps, as well as articles from the field maps team. If you'd like to discuss this further, if you'd like to discuss any of these other capabilities that we've mentioned here on this call, I'd encourage you to reach out to your Esri state and local government team. We're here to support you. Jay, Lakeisha, and I, we're part of a large team of GIS professionals at Esri that focus on the state and local government community. And we've got a wealth of state and local government experience. Many of us came from state and local governments prior to joining Esri, and we're here to support your efforts. While we're not able to be with you in person right now, please know that we are very much here for you. So whether it's helping you to develop a strategic roadmap for your organization's GIS, providing training and professional development, or connecting you with our large network of partners that provide solutions across all operations of state and local government, we're committed to helping your organization achieve its goals. So we'll take a few questions in a moment, but let me first mention that our next State and Local Connect webinar will be on January 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And the topic for that will be the GIS Professional's Guide to Spatial Analytics. You can register for this event at go.esri.com/state local connect. Jay and Lakeisha, let's take a few questions in the remaining minute or two that we have left. I think the first question is a common one, and it's one that we've been hearing just in our day-to-day interactions with the user community. It goes like this: I'm using Collector now. When should I move to field maps? And I think the answer to that is that we're ready for you now, right, Lakeisha?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll say the sooner the better. Field Maps already has the functionality of Collector. It started with the same code base as Collector, so act now, I say.
Okay, all right. And I think the next logical question that would follow that is, what's the process to migrating to field maps?
It's a great question, Mike. We have some really good resources. I'd say start by just Googling migrate to field maps. There's a blog article out that will kind of walk you through the process and all the implications. But the short of it is you pretty much just need to download the app and get going. So if you download field maps, you'll notice that all of the web maps that you are used to using in Collector will be there and are ready for you. I'd say the only considerations for migration would be if you had mobile map packages to work offline, you're going to have to re-download those in field maps. And then the other would be app links. So if you've set up some app links and applications to click on it, it opens up field map on your device. You're going to have to use the field maps app link in that scenario.
Thanks, Jay. Lakeisha, you may have covered it, but just to reiterate, what happens with Survey 123?
Yeah, absolutely. So Survey 123, along with Quick Capture, Indoors, Business Analyst, they'll still remain in that specialized apps group. And so they'll still be on their own. Some of the functionalities are being built into field maps, but it still won't have quite as much as you can do with Survey 123, such as like with the XLS forms to build out some of those questions. So if you are in the workflow situation where it's very form centric, still look to Survey 123 to handle that workflow. If you're trying to do some of that big button application, like we call Quick Capture, you're setting up the attributes a little differently. So Quick Capture will be that the answer for that workflow for that quick capturing of your data. So those apps will still remain. And again, we're still trying to incorporate some of the functionality of Survey 123.
Okay. And I think this got mentioned, but just wanted to bring it up again. So what's the time frame for incorporating Workforce and Navigator into field maps?
That's a great question. So we don't have official release date set, but the Workforce kind of work management capability side is going to be included in phase 2. So we just released phase 1 of field maps. Workforce will be in phase 2, currently targeted for the first half of 2021. This is where field maps will be able to have like a to-do list for managing assignments, and also additional mapping, data collection, and tracking capabilities will be a part of this release. So stay tuned for phase 2, very exciting. The Navigator side, so that's like the turn-by-turn direction side, will be included in the final phase, and we do not have an estimated date at this time for that. And that's where you'll have the voice guidance, turn-by-turn directions, all in the field maps application.
All right. Well, Jay and Lakeisha, thank you both for sharing over the past 45 minutes, and thank you all for your time and for joining today. I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.